My name is KIESE Laymon. I published Long Division, a novel, and an essay collection, How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others in America, 2013. And I'm here for the Tennessee Williams Literary Festival. Okay, so the essay collection is called How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others in America. It's an essay collection that really looks at growing up, the burdens and benefits of growing up a black boy in Jackson, Mississippi. Some of the essays extend into my time in New York, but most of them are rooted in some form or fashion at home. Just exploring my life and the life of my community and life of my family. It's a slender book, but it's a book I'm proud of. And then my novel, Long Division, is in some way, it's characterized as metafiction. Some people characterize it as post-Katrina fiction, but at the core, it's just really a story about a community of young black kids trying not to be erased from the narrative of the region and the nation. That's really what it's about. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, born and raised. I mean, it's real simple. Like, I'm from Mississippi. Mississippi is known for a lot of things, but I think we're known primarily for being a state that sanctions the disappearing of black bodies, whether it's lynching or throwing kids in prison from the school to prison pipeline. And what I'm trying to say in this novel is I think there's a lot of different ways you can make people disappear, and I think one way that we've been trying to make kids discursively disappear is to say, like, the language you speak is not enough, right? The way you talk, the way you communicate isn't enough. And so I think when you create these narratives that police and discipline particular bodies more than other bodies, you got to call it what it is. And I just think it's state-sanctioned disappearance, right? Like that's what the nation is good at. That's what my state is really good at. But what I'm interested in is like how we push back. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you push back if you're a black woman body, a black male body who is constantly being disciplined and sanctioned and encouraged to disappear? And I think we have pushback. And some of that pushback comes in the form of Bessie Smith. Some of that pushback comes in the form of jazz. Some of that pushback comes in the form of Jay Electronica. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people push back. Jasmine Ward. But it's there. But I just think we need to call. I mean, some people call it white supremacy. Some people call it other stuff. But I just think it's state and human sanctioned disappearance that we're pushing back against. The nation. Yeah, there's a lot of money built up in that, man. There's an economy and keeping particular bodies out of the economy too. So, but my point is, we still alive. Like I think we all got people who locked up. We all, in some form or fashion, I think, are being written out of these narratives, but they haven't been wholly successful, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it hadn't completely worked. But you got to call it what it is. And the thing is, a lot of these rural places, whether it's West Virginia or Mississippi, there's a tradition there. Like, there are traditions there, and sometimes I think we can get upset that the rest of the nation doesn't care about those traditions, but whatever. We know the tradition, and I think the point should be, how do we remix that tradition? How do we find the holes in the tradition that haven't made a way for our particular sensibilities? Yeah, advice for young writers is none of us. Well, I think there might be a tiny percentage of writers out there who are good enough not to practice. But you can believe that your favorite writer is out there practicing while you talking about trying to be a writer. So if you want to write, you got to practice. And I think you need to create a routine that works for you. And I think you need to understand that even your favorite writer revises. So even though you might feel really good about a sentence you created last night, I think you should probably revise that sentence 100 times before the rest of the world sees it. And I think we need to understand as new writers, old writers, seasoned writers, whatever, that sometimes the sentences we write that don't get to the public's eyes are the most important sentences. So write a lot to get a little. And I think that's, and also I just want to say, young writers, don't be afraid to confront stuff like racism, sexual assault, sexual abuse, misogyny. Don't be afraid to find creative ways to confront that. And I think if we get more writers doing that and writing to people who don't traditionally read, I think we can kind of start to really see literature impacting and affecting the future in great ways. I don't think we're seeing that right now, but I think it's partially because a lot of people aren't being written to. So I think younger writers, please write to your cousins, write to your nieces and nephews, write to folks who aren't traditionally written to, and I think we can see some change. What I would like to see in more literary fiction is, again, like fiction that imagines that people other than kind of fairly well-off white people will be reading it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want to see literary artists imagine their audience is different than that audience that was down there tonight watching us talk. And I think publishing houses are discouraging that. But I think if you imagine your audience differently, some different things will happen. But with urban fiction, at least the urban fiction that I've read, some of it's good, some of it's not. But I also just think maybe structurally, this is any writer. Structurally, I think people can push. We necessarily think literary fiction is on a higher level than that. Just off the categorization, just because it's categorized a particular way. And in that way, we letting people who don't care about really me or you dictate our taste. So I think it'd be interesting if you just took the weird covers off of all of these books, and all books were just all black covers, and people had to read text. I wonder what text people would say, what urban, what people would text would say, or romantic, or people would text would say, or horror. You know what I mean? Like if you obliterate a genre, which is there primarily for people to sell product, I just think we would kind of think about this differently. So.